Get started with the session today. So good morning and welcome to our free webinar on how to counter disinformation. My name is Keegan Wiggins and I'll be your host for this 1-hour webinar. Whether you're joining us from the media world, the civil society, or just curious about the topic, we're thrilled to have you here today. Just a bit of information about disinformation before we dive in. So disinformation is a global challenge that I'm sure you all are familiar with, one that affects democracy, trust, and safety. Disinformation and hate speech are shaping the digital landscape, influencing opinions, and threatening democratic values. The Global Risk Report from 2025 places disinformation as a top short-term risk for the second consecutive year, underlying the persistent threat to societal cohesion and governance by eroding trust and exacerbating divisions with and between nations. So for today's webinar, it's all about unpacking disinformation, what it is, how it works, and the tools that we can use to fight back. This webinar is also a great chance to learn more about our upcoming course, Counter Disinformation and Hate Speech with Digital Media, that starts this June. And yeah, you'll get a special promo code just for being in the session here today. We've got a powerful lineup for you, including a keynote speaker with a look into our upcoming RNTC course and a real story from one of our alumni who took this course and has put their experience into action. Just to set some ground rules before we get started for today. So everyone should be muted by default. This just helps us to keep the sound clear for everyone and for the speakers. The camera, if you could please turn that on for us. That also ensures that you're in a respectful environment. And it's also nicer for the speakers to feel more engaged with the audience as well, rather than talking to a bunch of black screens. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from and why you're interested in today. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat as well. And we'll try to get to as many as we can during this session. And if we don't have time for that today, we'll have follow-up information to share with you all so we can also answer and address this question. We're also recording this session, so you probably heard that as you joined. So don't worry if you missed something. We'll be sending the recording and important links later after this webinar. In case you're uncomfortable with the recording, please feel free to switch off your camera or change the name that shows up on the Zoom call. And then just as a last reminder to everyone, please let's make this a safe space for learning and sharing, and let's keep this conversation kind and constructive for today. Thank you all. So to kick us off, I'm gonna give the floor to Jordy. So we're honored to welcome Jordy as the founder to Dare to Be Gray and a longtime standing trainer with RNTC. Jordy will be delivering our keynote today on understanding and countering disinformation, diving into real-world examples and strategies and insights from the field. So please take it away, Jordy.
Thank you, Keegan, and hi, everyone. I'm seeing some familiar faces on my screen. Nice. How is everybody doing? I'll fire up my quick presentation. And that always takes a second. There we go. So my name is Jordy Nijnijs. As Keegan mentioned, I'm the co-founder and current director of Dare to Be Gray. It's a nonprofit based in the Netherlands, and we focus on understanding and finding alternatives to disinformation, radicalization, hate speech, and polarization. But next to that, I'm a trainer and campaigner. And I've been working with RNTC for almost 8 years now. So I'm currently the lead trainer of the Countering Disinformation and Hate Speech course. And I really enjoy this combination of implementing actions, finding solutions, and implementing those through Dare to Be Gray, but also engaging with people like you during the courses. because these things go hand in hand, right? We can understand these things on paper, but if we don't create meaningful solutions to it, it's all kind of futile, isn't it? So to get you in the right mind frame, I'm going to fire, I think, 3 questions at you. And you have to decide if it's a fact or if it's fiction, but you only get 3 seconds. And please put it in the chat so we can check each other on how we're feeling and how our fact-checking skills are today. So the first fact or fiction, and again, 3 seconds, put it in the chat. The first statement is NASA, the space agency from the United States, is currently installing internet on the moon. Would you say this is fact or this is fiction? Do we have internet on the moon? A lot of fictions, a lot of fictions. I think the 3 seconds are over. Well, it's a fact, actually. They're installing internet on the moon, not everywhere, but on some places so they can communicate with their robots and their tools and equipment they're putting on there. Next one. The Great Wall of China is visible from space with the naked eye. Fact or fiction? Again, 3 seconds. I think this is 50-50. This is fiction. You can't see the Great Wall of China, even though it's been, communicated in a lot of pop culture. And I'm doing this exercise for a reason, because people on the internet, specifically, when they see a fact or a statement or a piece of information, generally speaking, they decide within 3 seconds if it's reliable or not. You're currently hopefully in the mindset where you're listening to my statement and you're trying to make a balanced decision. But when people are consuming content, they're not always reflecting critically on what they're seeing, right? So this is one of the reasons why disinformation spreads rapidly and easily in online environments. Because we're chilled, we're not really in our thinking mindset. We're just consuming content. Let's see if I can close the chat for a second. Maybe I can't. There we go. So let's take a step back and look at the concept of disinformation. I'm sure many of you have seen this little slide already, but it's good to zoom out and understand this concept a bit more in depth. Because we often talk about disinformation, but then there's also misinformation and malinformation. And these things go hand in hand, but they should be treated differently. So on the left, you can see misinformation. And what it shares with disinformation, that it's false information. So it's tweaked, it's doctored, it's manipulated information. But misinformation, there's not necessarily an intent to do harm. So this could be you listening to Jordi Nijhuis, who's speaking in a weird Zoom room and telling you that you can see the Great Wall of China from space, agreeing with me, and that's, there's no intent to do harm from you, of course, but again, it's false information. So this is misinformation, unintentional mistakes, rumors, gossip, sometimes sloppy journalism, or journalists making a mistake. It's false, it can do harm, but there's not necessarily an intent to do harm. Disinformation, on the other hand, carries both elements. It's false, but there's also the intent to do harm. So it's deliberate. It's manipulated content. It's the creation of fake stories or conspiracy theories, rumors, and trying to get those out in the public to do harm or to further your own cause. So often this is political, right? And then we have malinformation, and the only thing that it has in common with disinformation is that it's an intent to do harm. There's an intent to do harm, but not with false information, but with factual information. So you can also use factual, verified information to still do harm. So think about revenge porn, uploading private images of someone, or doxing, maybe you've heard of this term, sharing someone private address, email address, phone number, with the intent that people will just annoy and bully and troll these people. And to make it even more complicated, these issues come in many shapes and forms. So I would suggest to check out First Draft. It's a website of a collection of fact checkers. And they publish great media literacy resources and tools, including this one. And it kind of shares the shapes and forms in which disinformation or misinformation can be communicated, ranging from completely fabricated content to misleading headlines or changed headlines, or for example, when satire or parody is taken serious by people, and then of course it leads to them accepting false information as the truth. And this works very well because disinformation, it appeals to emotions. Emotions are key when it comes to viral disinformation. It taps into our fears, our anger, our anxiety. And especially in digital and online platforms, it's very easy to share this because it's accessible by anyone. There are no gatekeepers anymore. And when it taps into the emotion or the emotional state of people are more likely to consume it, accept it, share it, like it, or engage with it. And it's not an easy world we're living in. I'm thinking about all the crises that we're currently facing. Think about the many different wars that are going on all over the globe, but also the changing political landscape. Democracies are becoming under threat. There's a shrinking civil space. Next to that, we just came out of a global pandemic. And this is a very complicated landscape for people to navigate and to understand, especially online. Again, people make the decision to agree with content or disagree with content within 3 seconds. And if you think about the amount of content people are consuming on a daily basis, it's massive. It's a lot. It's a great number. So the online world is very important when it comes to spreading dis and misinformation. And there has been loads of real-world harm and impact. And it's also connected to different elements, also the elements that we're working on at Dare to be Grey, like hate speech, radicalization, extremism, polarization. So here are some examples of the disinformation landscape. And I've picked these for a couple of reasons because I think it speaks to the different problems that we're facing, but also the real world impact. So on the top left corner, it's about the Pizzagate conspiracy. It's a conspiracy theory that was amplified and shared during the 2016 elections in the United States. People were linking Hillary Clinton to a pedophile network in the US, and they said they're meeting in the basement of this specific pizza restaurant in Washington, D.C. And this became a widely shared and also widely believed conspiracy theory, which resulted to a person entering that pizza place, looking for the basement of that pizza place and firing a weapon, even though in reality there was no basement in that restaurant. And we see that these conspiracy theories are still linked to the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement. And especially when political actors like Donald Trump amplify these narratives, the impact can be extremely damaging. And also you see that, one of the consequences right now is that democracy is being undermined in the United States of America. On the top right corner, it's an example from Myanmar or Burma, where Facebook, because they didn't do their content moderation robustly, actually amplified false information about the Rohingya minority group in the country, which led to a genocide on that Rohingya minority. And it speaks volumes that, the influence of these big social media platforms can be extremely damaging. They have a big role, especially in a country like Myanmar, where 90% of the media and information consumption is through Facebook. We should not underestimate how important these social media platforms are, and how important it is to have robust regulation over there, and that we should, advocate for change at these platforms as well. The bottom right corner is Alex Jones, and he made a business model based on sharing disinformation. So he created a YouTube channel, and where he pushes wild conspiracy theories, a lot of hateful, toxic narratives, in an effort to sell like vitamin supplements or healthcare products or sport and gym products on his own website. So he creates a nice community around his conspiracy theories, rallies them up, makes them anger, and then sells products to them. And we see this all over the globe in different shapes and different forms in different contexts. But there's a big industry when it comes to disinformation. You can make a big profit when you share disinformation and you lead them to spaces where you can buy products. And then, of course, we have the role of AI and the influence of AI. So the bottom left corner are AI-generated images that all carry a hidden message. So in those little red boxes, you can see what the images look like when you kind of squeeze your eyes a little bit. And loads of extremist groups are now using AI-generated content to share their extremist views, but also share their disinformation. So the one on the left, for example, if you squeeze your eyes, you can read "The Jews did 9/11." The one in the middle, it looks like a group of women, obviously, but if you squeeze your eyes, you see like a little circle with those lines. This is a far-right extremist symbol. And then the one on the right, if you squeeze your eyes, you can see Adolf Hitler, obviously a far-right icon. And there are loads of ways to profit from this. So if you're a political entity, you can profit by sharing disinformation, conspiracy theories to manipulate public opinion or to destabilize your opponent. I think, the biggest example right now is our dear friend Donald Trump. Just take a look at what he's doing, and you see the playbook of how to use disinformation as a political entity. Foreign governments, of course, this is often called foreign information manipulation or interference, or FIMI. Think about Kremlin-backed propaganda trying to destabilize entire countries, but also changing narratives about war, etc., etc. Corporations can profit from disinformation. Media outlets often profit from disinformation because people click on those links, people go to those spaces, people read and consume this content. So we're also competing with different media outlets. Non-state actors such as extremist groups or hacker collectives often use these strategies. And individuals. Loads of people think it's funny to create disinformation or to create toxic memes or to influence people. And some of them gain from it financially as well. Now I'm going to skip over some slides because I'm looking at the time. And the internet, as mentioned, is a perfect breeding ground for all these online harms. Algorithms will amplify disinformation. People find themselves stuck in filter bubbles, or so-called filter bubbles, where they only consume one side of the story, which strengthens their beliefs. So it becomes easy to manipulate them with disinformation as well. And unfortunately, it's very easy to set up influence campaigns, even from abroad. I can set up a campaign, write some weird stories here and target a specific region in Nigeria, for example. I can do that from my little attic here next to Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So we're facing this on a global level. We're facing this from a variety of actors who are, benefiting from this. So it's extremely difficult and a sensitive topic to work in, of course. So now on to the more positive things. And this is also something Balázs will probably mention when he talks about the course that RNTC offers, because there's a big role for media professionals and journalists to counter these issues, right? So one of the things we can do is making sure that facts become relevant again and that our facts are clear. So as media professionals, as journalists, we need to make sure that our content, our own information is verified. We can help a little by debunking the false stories that are out there. So think about fact checking. But another strategy we can use is being proactive. Can we inform our audiences about narratives and false stories we see on the horizon? So if there's an election coming up, can we pre-bunk, so debunk those false stories in advance, so we've got the upper hand? Now, another thing we can do is making sure that we engage strategically online. Can we go to these spaces that are filled with disinformation and toxic narratives? Can we put interventions in there? Can we set the norm? Can we create a different online norm so people understand that it's not okay and that it's not normal that we communicate in a very heated way? Can we take away that emotion that's often being preyed on by disinformation? And now, my favorite and final strategy, storytelling. Stories are very important for people. Stories are what we use to make sense of reality. Stories are, often used to divide people, but can also bring people together. Disinformation is storytelling on an advanced level. So I think as journalists and media professionals, we can use the same weapons and the same tools as they use. So storytelling, can we create shared stories that are important to us? But also, can we create appealing counter narratives? If we see that there's this false narrative online, can we create something that's appealing and strategic to counter that? Or can we look into alternative narratives? Can we use those emotions that people are having, but then steer them in the right direction, in the constructive way, in the way that builds up civic space and democracy instead of destroying it? So these are the things that both Dare to Be Great and RNTC is working on. I'll leave it here. Think about it. Take it in. And then I think after a quick Q&A, Balázs will tell a bit about how we work with these elements in the course that we offer at RNTC. In the meantime, if you want to reach out, here are my details. Take a screen grab or look at the recording. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jordi. I don't see any questions in the chat, but maybe while some people take a moment to type some questions, I do have a question for you, Jordi. In your eyes, what makes the RNTC approach on training on disinformation unique? And what kind of people benefit from the RNTC training?
Ooh, the big question. So what I find unique is that, I mentioned this in my presentation a little bit, that these topics, of course, they depend very much on the context you're from and the national context, but we all share the same challenges globally. And I think there's a lot of power in learning from approaches from different countries. So for me, it's unique that we're able to bring people together from different countries with different backgrounds and different lived experiences, and then engage on those topics for 3 weeks. That's special, and that's very important. This was just a glimpse into the world, but if you really want to do something about this, You need time, you need to breathe, you need perspectives, you need to be inspired, and that's unfortunately not possible in a 25-minute keynote. So that's really special, I think. And I forgot your second part of the question, Keegan. Sorry.
No worries. I gave you 2 in 1 in a way. What kind of people benefit from the RNTC training on disinformation?
Sure. So obviously journalists, media professionals, but in essence, communities at large. The RNTC courses are created in such a way that it's not you who's benefiting from it by yourself. So of course you get a great learning experience and you get all those nice things and you get time to engage with people. You get time to also, step out of your day-to-day and be creative and do things you're not able to do on a daily basis. But then afterwards, the challenge is on you to actually create something meaningful that will benefit your community. So it's a win-win. And I think in the end, hopefully, everyone will benefit.
Thank you, Jordy. Yeah, I agree. And I think we'll touch more on this in the other 2 presentations as well. But I definitely think a unique selling point is also the peer learning is a huge portion of RNTC training. And then the impact that our participants and alumni have after the training as well, of course. I see another question in the chat really quickly for you, Jordy. Which search engines can be used to verify and fact check stories?
Gotcha. So search engines specifically, I think pretty much all of them, as long as your query in the search engine is correct. And as long as you dive a little bit deeper into what sources these search engines are providing to you. So, a search engine is a nice place to surface information, but it's never going to tell you if it's factual or reliable by itself. So I think you should always dig deeper if a search engine is your starting point. But the same goes with AI tools such as ChatGPT. They can be pretty powerful in fact checking, but don't take it for face value. Always dig deeper. Click on the links. What kind of sources did ChatGPT use, or what kind of sources is Google providing to you? Because it's quite easy to also fall into the traps of credible-looking websites, but then they're just fake on the back end.
Great, thank you. And maybe one last one before we move on. Do you mind giving a quick example of an alternative narrative that you've used or that you've seen?
Sure. So my organization is basically founded and grounded as an alternative narrative. So we saw that the world turned into, 2 camps, the evil camp and the good camp, and we all started to deem ourselves the good guys and our opposition the bad guys. And this creates this black and white worldview where you're either with us or you're against us. I think this is dangerous. This heavy polarization is very dangerous because people will start feeling more hateful against the perceived opposition. And also people will believe every story that kind of agrees with our worldview or discredits our opposition. So our alternative narrative is literally called Dare to be Gray. Can we find space for nuance? Can we call on people to understand the different shades of gray that are between these black and white worldviews? So that's what we do. That's how we run alternative narratives. And then we use role models as credible sources for our interventions. So it's not us who are communicating these thoughts and ideas. It's role models who are credible with our target audiences. So it could be like a religious leader, for example, who talks about embracing their perceived opposition and opening spaces for them in their church or in their mosque. And I think that can be very powerful.
Great, thank you so much, Jordy, for the powerful reflections and the glimpse into disinformation. RNW Media's Training Center, we are offering the course, just to reiterate for everyone in the webinar. We offer the course Counter Disinformation and Hate Speech with Digital Media. That's going to happen this June, from June 16th to July 4th. And this course provides an in-depth exploration just into the topics that Jordi was talking about, such as exploring and the use of practical tools to combat disinformation, counter hate speech, and polarization online, as well as increase outreach in media. So now I want to give the floor to my colleague Balazs. He's one of the learning designers here at RNTC. He will give us an overview of the Counter Disinformation and Hate Speech with Digital Media course. This is your chance to get a feel for what the course offers, what you'll learn, and how it's designed to be more hands-on and transformative. The floor is yours, Balazs.
Great, thank you very much, Keegan. Can you guys all hear me? All good? Okay, great. So welcome everyone. Thank you, Jordi, for a lovely opening and introduction of the topic. So my name is Balazs. I work as a learning designer here at RNTC within RW Media. And yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with the modules within our training called Counter Disinformation and Hate Speech with Digital Media. Yeah, and also sit in sometimes on some of the occasions when we offer this course here in Haarlem. I've seen Jordi in action. And I want to give you guys a quick overview of what this course entails and what it looks like in practice. So I don't think that I need to talk a lot about the problem that Jordi also outlined. We know how disinformation impacts us and impacts the world. And Jordi also offered a couple of examples for things we can do. And one of the things you can do is train yourself to be more skilled at offering counter narratives, alternative narratives, and producing and sharing content that can verify and fact check information, but also through storytelling, impact people in a way that helps them latch onto the right narratives and helps you convince them of of the values and of the goals that you have in mind. Our 15-day course to look at all these areas is here in Haarlem in the Netherlands at our office. And it helps you turn the tide on disinformation by looking at a couple of different things, from storytelling and how that works, what makes a story powerful, to narratives and what they are, how you can use them, to looking at disinformation itself, how to construct counter narratives, also how to moderate content on your platforms or connected to your content that you share, which is very important, and also create your own digital media content. So create your video that you can record, edit, and share. What makes this course very special? I would like to highlight just 4 of the things that our participants also like sharing with us when they talk about what they enjoyed about the course. First of all, our courses, including this one, are personal. You get to work with a trainer and your fellow participants and stay part of a network of alumni from courses. And these people all stay your allies in your work during the course and also after the course. The course is also relevant. We work with some of the latest questions that you guys also just shared in the chat as well, from looking at how to best identify AI-generated images and video to the latest trends in digital media, and how you can use storytelling for online, let's say, short-form video platforms. There's a lot that you can take and immediately apply to your work. We keep things practical. You get to have your own ready-to-distribute counter-narrative and the visual material to back it up by the end of the course. So you create something, you go through all that process, and you can take that with you as well. And we also draw from the best practices within RNTC from over 50 years of experience now, in which time media has changed a lot, and we have also changed a lot, and the participants have. But that's a lovely learning opportunity and one that, yeah, we are still using all the time. A quick walkthrough of the course. Yeah, I won't dwell here long, but you can take a look at how you would go from day 1 to day 15. You see here that the course starts with looking at target audiences that you can work with. and the persuasive aims that you have and how storytelling can help you connect with those audiences. We specifically look at disinformation and hate speech, how they work, what the definitions are, how to verify information online. We go into moderation and social listening a little bit, and construct our own counter and alternative narratives. And you record and edit your own multimedia content to back that up and to get that out into the world. You also share this with your peers, your group, and get actionable feedback from both trainers as well as your fellow participants who will also become your allies as alumni after the course. I would like to share one little bit more zoomed in example of how you can use these skills. So here in the screen, you can see one of our alumni. His name is Abdi Aziz, and he works in Somalia as an advocacy and media strategist. So as an advocate for social justice, he creates radio programs and films and video and has access to his local audiences and reaching them with important messages. So he was one of the people who came to Harlem, took our 15-day training, and had a very, very exciting next steps that he then shared with us. First of all, him and participants like him shared feedback with us that after the training, they see storytelling as a comfortable skill that coupled with filming and smartphone reporting is really useful for their work. They see themselves as skilled fact checkers, but also social campaigners. So they can use their knowledge immediately within their activism or within their work back home. And this can often lead to a butterfly effect, such as it has with the example of Abdi Aziz. Here you can see him very proudly with some of the journalists that took part in his workshops that he organized across different regions in Somalia. He covered some of the same topics that he learned about in the RNTC course: target audiences, storytelling, disinformation, polarization, etc. And this was, in some cases, the first time that these topics related to disinformation were addressed among these journalists in this particular context. And of course, as a result, this is also something that's really localized. So he knows who he's working with, he knows his own country, his own towns and regions, and he knows what's needed and how to put it out there. Some of the examples were a television program called Real Story, where he shared his knowledge on storytelling, disinformation, and hate speech. He also established a fact-checking platform called Somali Check, the first of its kind in the country, which aims to debunk disinformation and hate speech in Somali media. So it's a lot of sustainable and very localized work based on the knowledge that you get and the support that you have from the alumni network. We really like hearing from our students after they have completed our trainings. And some of the things that they repeatedly share with us is that they really value the safe spaces and the empathy that they receive as part of their training at RNTC. So they feel comfortable about their learning. They value the practical skills that they get and that they can put to use. And they also value that there is sound theory behind them. So they understand how the world works and how disinformation works and storytelling works and what explains all the things that they can also then put in practice. If you are also interested in taking part in this experience and also taking all these lessons with you, then we'll share a little bit more about the training details in a minute or two. But the most important thing maybe that you can already note down is the dates. Our 15-day training, the next iteration, is coming up from June 16th to July 4th this summer here in Haarlem, the Netherlands. So we hope to see many of you there, and we encourage you to join this training as well as the network, because through the training you also join a community that helps you continue your work with more knowledge, more skills, and more confidence. So thank you all.
Thank you, Vilash. We'll do a Q&A session later to address more of the questions that are specific to the course. I'd like to now hand the floor to one of our lovely alumni. So please welcome Linda. She's a brilliant alumni of ours. And they will share their experience and the impact the course has had on them So Linda, the floor is yours.
Hello, hi, hope you can hear me. Nice to see you, Jordi. Nice to be invited here. I'm a proud alumni of RNTC. I was part of the 2024 cohort and the disinformation and countering hate speech course. I come from Kenya. I don't know if I mentioned that. And currently, my background was from like about 5 years of fact checking, where we know the basics of information manipulation, and we had tools to debunk fake news. So on a day-to-day basis, we just pick what's online and say this is true, this is false, this is the evidence. But we struggled the most with trying to get a wider reach, or trying to see whether our work really goes anywhere besides Twitter and the Kenyan circles. And that was one of my biggest motivations to apply to RNTC's course. I wanted to see how to maximize impact and reach for the organization I was working for, and also just as a fact checker from Kenya, like how can I make this something that's, you know, beyond just fact check, this is true, this is false. And I think the course was really helpful in that. And there's something that your Jordi has mentioned. We all share the same problems globally, and that's something that really came out from the training I did with RNTC, interacting with colleagues from the Middle East, from other African countries. And he also gave a lot of good examples from like across the world. So I could see that there's things that happen in Kenya that are also happening in like the Middle East. So it was also helpful in trying to shape and package the fact checks that we did with a global lens, that is. And some of the impact that I came out with from the course was a campaign that was mostly inspired by the Love Matters, would I call it a campaign, by RNTC, which was showcased during the course. And it was showing how sexual and reproductive sex education rather can be packaged for a younger audience. And it also had elements of how to communicate matters concerning the LGBTQ community in a way that drives impact. And from that, after I came from the course, I did a campaign that was mapping hate speech against the queer community in Kenya. And just around the same time, there were protests in Kenya. I have a video from the campaign that I hope Keegan will show later. And again, just from what Jordi has mentioned, there was a counter narrative that kind of used homophobic language to try and say the people who are protesting against the government in Kenya are people from the queer community, and they used the moral narrative saying it's not our culture and things like that. So because of the knowledge that I got from RNTC, I was able to come up with a short video and drive a campaign showcasing this particular hate speech smear campaign. And it also informed how to do long form narratives, because from there we learned that the people who are driving this campaign were government bloggers. So it was one of the, I'd say, a bigger, outside of daily fact checking, this is true, this is false content that I was used to. And thanks to the course from RNTC. And I would highly recommend it because of that reason. If you want to identify how to maximize the work that you do the stories that go on in Kenya matter to the world, and how can I package them in a manner that would kind of have a global impact. Again, from the campaign that we ran, because we had trainings on how AI is used, and also just from what Jordi has presented on AI being used to perpetrate disinformation, we could spot such elements. If you want to identify how to use local examples to map stories, or rather angles that have a global impact, and how to package them in a way that can drive a wider reach and also, again, just impact. I think this is a good cause to get that from. And again, I would recommend it because personally, even from my personal career growth, it has really helped. Because I interacted with colleagues from the Middle East, I was able to use some of the lessons that we learned and pitched a research paper for Al Jazeera Media Institute last year as a fellow. So through this project, I was able to talk about how I can map common disinformation trends with the Israel-Gaza war, as well as the Russia-Ukraine war and the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria. So it has a way of just bringing all these things together and improving your skills, however expert level or beginner level you're at. RNTC is the place to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. I'll share the video now for everyone. So give me 1 second.
Kenya's anti-government protests have been an online fast movement. The protests that initially began via the hashtag #RejectFinanceBill mostly comprised of organic posts by an overwhelming majority. It was not just a ruse, as the political elite would dismiss it. The hashtags advanced into street protests across 35 of the 47 counties, united by the common adversary that is poor governance. Even so, the political class, unsurprisingly, went ahead to pass the bill in its first reading. Part of the arguments that shaped the parliament's debate included that the mostly young protesters were just doing it for TikTok.
Honorable Speaker, and she was swinging, Honorable Speaker, very nicely. She told me that she was there because she wanted to get views for TikTok, Honorable Speaker.
Another way that the government would deflect was by blaming it on Russia.
Could be when there is a foreign hand into this whole issue. President wetu ameongea very clearly mambo mengi sana international. Juzi amesema mambo ya Russian invasion.
In a more elaborate effort to deflect and trivialize the legitimate grievances that young people have been agitating for, a group of trolls was up and running by 6 a.m. on July 8th to launch a campaign under the hashtags GayZ and LGBTQ Kanairo. Again, Russia was somehow involved in the conversation. The first post went out on X at 6:35 a.m. under an account named MakeIt_done, which, going by its bio, is run by a social media strategist. Setting the tone for the other posts, it contained both hashtags GayZ and LGBTQ Kanairo. Also characteristic of majority of the posts on the campaign was the use of AI-generated graphics posing as digital cards from reputable media organizations, and some even implicating international organizations like Amnesty. The account, MakeIt_done, registers more than 70 posts and reposts from 6:35 a.m. to 10:52 a.m. Each one of the 70 posts rakes a reach of over 10,000 users on X. Overall, about 200 accounts posted over 4,000 X posts in just about 3 hours from 6:35 a.m. to 9 a.m. Each account typically posted and reposted more than 50 posts within 3 hours. Another account actively involved is named @SamKaliz with about 93 posts in 3 hours. Similarly, a lot of AI-generated images purporting to be digital cards from credible media were popular on this account. Elements of coordinated inauthentic behavior are evident in the use of both hashtags on each post. It was also evident that the campaign was funded by interest groups because most of the accounts involved typically contain paid-for promotion content. The online space is increasingly becoming a formidable space. Some interventions, like developing customized GPTs, for instance, one that would simplify the finance bill, and another exposing corrupt politicians, have been a useful form of civic education. The finance bill was withdrawn, the cabinet dissolved, and some Kenyans might even boast of having had the first president in the world to host an X space as a forum.
Thank you again so much, Linda, for your presentation and also for sharing the video. I found it very comprehensive and very well done. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Now, just before we get into the final Q&A, I also want to take a moment to share the floor with my colleague Sam, who's one of our partnership managers, to give us some formats for which we can take advantage of the course this June. So I'm gonna share my screen and hand this over to Sam. So give me just 1 second. Okay, 1 second. I need to exit that, then share. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Good morning from wherever you're joining us from. Thank you very much, Keegan, for this space. I am excited to be talking to all of you this morning. Very big thank you to Jordi, very big thank you to Balaj and to Linda for giving us such an insightful webinar this morning about this information. I think all of us can agree that we have learned a lot. I think there's so much more to learn as well, given that this information is a very big crisis. So we are sharing this information for you who is out there on this call and you might want to be interested to join the course that Balaj and Linda have rightfully showcased to us. So the course that we have on this information really starts on the 16th of June 2025. That is in about 2 months or so. So we are hoping to welcome some of you to Harlem for this course, and it will run for 3 weeks. It will be in campus here in the Netherlands, and it will be 15 days of classwork. So 15th of June to 4th of July, that's about 3 weeks. So 15 days in class, Monday to Friday. It's quite intensive. And then the full tuition cost is about 5,500 euros. But given all of you have been grateful enough and gracious enough to join us on this webinar, we are offering a discount of 750 euros, making the total tuition fees 4,750 euros. The promo code that you would use to take advantage of this discount is on the screen, and we shall follow up with an email to just share this promo code with all of you. Please ensure to register by May 19th to take advantage of this discount. Now, however, maybe you're not interested or you don't have the time to take advantage of the full 15 days. You can take a short course on storytelling with the people who will be taking the longer course, the 3-week course, and it will be in person again here in Harlem. And within this week, which is the 16th of June to the 21st of June, you will specifically learn to map your audience's beliefs, whatever your audience is, be able to craft persuasive and powerful narratives, create measurable impact with every story you tell. Imagine this in just 5 days. And this will cost you just 1,500 euros, 14.99 euros if you like. I hope to welcome some of you to, our Harlem campus, which is very beautiful. And it's going to be some sunny weather in the Netherlands. I hope that this entices you to actually consider this course. Please go to rntc.com and go on the trainings and please register. And we shall see you in June in the Netherlands. Thank you very much. We'd be happy to respond to any questions on the chat, but we shall also follow up with other information on email after this. Thank you and have a brilliant day after.
Great. Thank you so much, Sam. Sam is now jumping to another meeting. So I'll see really quickly if there are some questions that I can address now before we let everyone go. Yeah, no promises on the sunny weather. I will say June is at least a month to be optimistic about, knowing the Netherlands. Let's see. I think some of the questions that I saw earlier were also addressed with what Sam just spoke about. And just to reiterate for everyone, we'll send a follow-up message with also the links so you can know where to register, with the code again as well for all of you. So anything that's more specific to that, we'll be sending in a follow-up email. So the one question that I did see that wasn't necessarily related to this was more of a question for Balash of how he was able to present the presentation with him in front of the slides. If you'd like to take a moment to explain, or otherwise we can, yeah. Okay, so Balash will explain that really quickly, just 1 second. Okay.
Nice. That's a nice learning designer facilitation question, my area, so I can share. So if you have the latest version of Zoom, when you share your screen, you should be able to see not only the option of what screen you're sharing, but see an option for layouts and options that you can open on the side. And that gives you the option of like either sharing full screen or you in a little cutout or having a little mini screen next to you. We are also using Zoom Workplace, so I'm not 100% sure that this is available on all the personal packages. You'd have to check. But this option is also available in Teams if that's what you use, so pretty cool. And if you have anything else, we're very happy to answer.
Thanks, Balash. I don't see any other questions, so I want to thank you all for joining us today. I don't want to take any more of your time up. You've already been gracious enough with that. So if you do have any other further questions that you think about later, you can always contact us at rntc.com. Again, we'll send a follow-up email to also help address any uncertainties or unclarities that you may have. So thank you again for joining us. And on behalf of everyone at RNTC, I just would like for you all to encourage you to stay critical, stay curious, and keep telling the truth. Thank you again for joining, and bye for now.